The British monarchy has weathered world wars, abdication crises, and centuries of turmoil. It has outlived empires and survived revolutions that toppled thrones across the globe. Yet according to a wave of dramatic online speculation, something has reportedly stirred behind those palace walls that even the most seasoned royal watchers claim they never anticipated. A move so legally unusual, so constitutionally charged, that commentators are already drawing comparisons to the crisis of 1936. Only this time, the rumours suggest there is no abdication letter. This time, the chatter insists the institution is striking back with cold, surgical, calculated precision. And at the centre of it all sits one explosive claim that Prince William has reportedly moved to do what almost nobody believed any royal would ever dare. Stay with me, because the surface of this story barely hints at what lies beneath. The talk circulating online suggests William, in his role as heir, has allegedly begun formal steps to strip his own brother of the Duke of Sussex title, not through whispers or back-channel pressure, but through what sources describe as documented legal mechanisms not touched since the First World War. But here's where the speculation becomes truly extraordinary. The title, according to these reports, isn't being erased at all. It's supposedly being redirected to a 15-year-old boy, James, Earl of Wessex, the son of Prince Edward, a teenager who has spent his entire life deliberately kept in the shadows, now allegedly thrust into the heart of the most dramatic royal restructuring in living memory. And almost nobody, the rumour mill insists, is asking the real question: was this a sudden reaction, or was it always the plan? Because when you trace the supposed timeline, what emerges looks less like impulse and more like strategy. And the trigger, they say, was handed over in Sydney. To grasp why William allegedly moved when he did, you first need to understand what reportedly unfolded in Australia in March 2026. Not the headlines, not the spin, but what palace insiders are said to privately describe as 8 separate categories of transgression. It begins with claims of unauthorised diplomatic engagement. Harry's trip was described by his team as personal, yet according to leaked accounts, he was seated inside Kirribilli House within hours of landing, reportedly holding a 90-minute private meeting with the Australian Prime Minister, with no notification to the Foreign Office and no clearance from the palace. Transcripts that allegedly reached the Australian Broadcasting Corporation suggest Harry floated the idea of serving as a special envoy for Commonwealth relations, positioning himself, critics claim, as a freelance royal voice in direct contradiction of the agreement he signed in 2020. But that was only the first of 8, and the others reportedly grow far more serious. The second category centres on alleged security failures. Harry's protection in Australia was privately funded rather than provided by the Metropolitan Police, and reports claim his detail failed to coordinate with Australian authorities, leaving what some experts describe as a 7-hour window of vulnerability for a man 6th in line to the throne. The third points to financial questions, with claims of a $250,000 speaking fee allegedly routed through a Delaware-registered company, raising compliance concerns across 3 jurisdictions. The fourth involves protocol, with reports that Harry wore military decorations he is no longer entitled to publicly display after his honorary appointments were removed in 2020, something the Ministry of Defence reportedly does not regard as a mere oversight. Each of these on its own would be serious, but the speculation insists the most damaging revelations were still to come. The fifth category concerns media strategy, with claims that Harry's team pre-arranged coverage with American networks while sidelining the British press, allegedly engineering competing narratives so that one audience believed the visit was official, while another insisted it was private. The sixth is said to be the most personal of all. At a private dinner reportedly attended by dozens of guests at the Australian National University, Harry was allegedly recorded without his knowledge, and what he supposedly said, describing the monarchy as an institution in managed decline, is said to have been viewed by palace officials as actively undermining his father's reign. Think about the weight of that for a moment. His father is reportedly battling cancer, his brother is preparing to inherit the crown, and Harry, according to these claims, was allegedly questioning the very institution that defines them both. So what could possibly top that? The answer, the rumours say, is what truly closed the door. The seventh category points to alleged commercial exploitation, with promotional material for a rumoured memoir sequel, supposedly featuring Australia photographs alongside text implying ongoing royal duties, blurring whether Harry was acting officially while monetising the confusion. And the eighth, perhaps the most explosive of all, is the claim that Harry privately met with representatives of the Australian Republic movement, reportedly expressing sympathy for their cause. Because there is a profound difference between a royal stepping back and a royal allegedly lending his presence to a movement whose entire purpose is to dismantle everything his family represents. Taken individually, each claim is serious. Taken together as an alleged pattern across a single visit, commentators are once again reaching for the language of 1936. But how legally could William even do such a thing? This is where the story supposedly leaves gossip behind and enters genuine constitutional territory. The real question, observers say, isn't whether Harry behaved badly, it's whether William, as heir rather than king, would even possess the legal machinery to strip a royal duke of his title. And according to the speculation, palace lawyers believe the answer is a narrow but firm yes, resting on three interlocking statutes. The first is the Titles Deprivation Act of 1917, last used against peers who sided with Germany in the First World War, which allegedly allows honours to be stripped from those acting against the Crown's interests. The second is the Royal Marriages Act of 1772, partially superseded but reportedly still granting the sovereign and heir authority over family members' public roles. The third is the Crown Estate Act of 1961, which establishes that royal titles are held at the Crown's pleasure, never personally owned. Harry, the argument goes, never owned the Sussex title at all. But the truly novel element is something else entirely. Two precedents reportedly complete the picture: Prince Andrew's loss of military titles and HRH status in 2022, and the financial arrangements imposed on the Duke of Windsor after the abdication. Yet what allegedly makes this case unique is the transfer mechanism. Rather than simply revoking the title, William is said to be invoking a medieval doctrine known as the translation of honours, by which a title is not extinguished but redirected to preserve its continuity. The Duke of Sussex title, with all its properties and dignities, would supposedly move directly to James. The title survives, only its holder changes. And in doing so, the speculation claims William sidesteps the legal vulnerabilities that a pure revocation would create. Constitutional scholars are reportedly divided, and Harry's team is said to give any challenge slim odds. But the most chilling part, according to the timeline, is when all of this allegedly began. Because this, the rumours insist, was no reaction to Australia. The supposed timeline suggests preparations stretching back to November 2025, palace officials reportedly learning of the trip through intelligence channels rather than from Harry himself. Contingency planning at Sandringham, legal memoranda requested from senior counsel, and one date stands out above all. In January 2026, William is alleged to have met privately with the Prime Minister to secure political support for potential constitutional action before a single transgression in Australia had reportedly even occurred. No meeting with the Australian PM had happened yet. No dinner recording yet existed. So what does that sequencing supposedly tell you? Not a government being informed of a crisis, the speculation argues, but a government being recruited to a strategy. And from there, the alleged timeline accelerates with prosecutorial precision, every step said to be documented before the next was taken. By March, the claims suggest transcripts reached London within hours, photographs reached the Ministry of Defence, and a dinner recording reached officials through a sympathetic attendee, all while Harry reportedly remained unaware his entire visit was being catalogued. Emergency meetings of senior royals allegedly followed. Conditional consent was sought from Edward regarding James. Formal letters were said to be sent through solicitors, and financial instruments reportedly worth around £12 million were frozen pending transfer. The irony, commentators note, is impossible to miss. Harry spent years arguing the monarchy operates through secrecy and institutional self-interest, and now the speculation claims he may have become the target of exactly the machinery he described. But buried inside all of this is a 15-year-old boy who reportedly asked for none of it. James, the youngest child of Edward and Sophie, has grown up in deliberate obscurity, his parents reportedly shielding him from the relentless scrutiny that has shaped the lives of his cousins. By every account, he is said to be remarkably grounded. And now, the rumours claim his entire trajectory is being rewritten in rooms he was never in, by decisions he had no part in making. The financial weight is enormous, hundreds of thousands in annual allowances reportedly restructured, Frogmore Cottage allegedly reassigned, the full architecture of a dukedom said to be transferring to a boy who cannot even control the assets until adulthood, with his father serving as trustee. Is it fair to reshape a 15-year-old's future as part of an institutional response to his uncle's choices? That question, observers admit, has no clean answer. And the human cost of clean institutional calculations has a way of surfacing at the most inconvenient moments. Consider what this could mean for Archie and Lilibet, reportedly growing up in California, who may one day understand that a title connected to their own identity was allegedly taken from their father and handed to their cousin. Analysts say the situation could unfold along several possible paths: quiet acceptance, years of public litigation, a negotiated compromise, an escalating and permanent split, or against all odds, an unexpected reconciliation perhaps forced by a family health crisis. The speculation leans toward escalating separation as the most likely outcome, carrying the most unpredictable consequences of all. And beyond the personalities lies the bigger picture, the claim that an heir, not a sitting monarch, may have exercised something close to co-sovereign authority, establishing a precedent that could reshape the balance of power within the royal family for generations. Every Commonwealth nation conducting its own quiet conversation about the crown, the rumours suggest, has now reportedly received an unmistakable message. So where does this leave us tonight? If even a fraction of this swirling speculation proves accurate, the House of Windsor may be entering one of the most contested and uncertain chapters in a living generation. But here is the harder question I'll leave you with, and I mean it sincerely. Setting aside the alleged legal mechanisms and documented claims, would it be right for one brother to dismantle another's titles, security, and identity? Or would such an action, however grounded, represent the very institutional overreach Harry has spent years warning about? Your answer genuinely matters, because in a monarchy that ultimately draws its authority from public consent, perception carries more weight than any statute ever could. Tell me where you stand in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe, and tap the next investigation already appearing on your screen, where we examine the rumoured financial threads connecting all of this. This is Royal Pulse, where whispers around the crown come to light.